Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting on February 6, 2019. Could I have the roll call, please?
Peg Coniff.
Here.
Salem Derby.
Present.
Omar Gomez.
Here.
J.P. Kwasinski.
Here.
William Lynch IV.
Here.
Joseph McCoy.
Here.
Thomas Peak.
Here.
Daniel Rist.
Here.
Owen Zaret.
Present.
Okay, could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, could I please have a motion for the approval of minutes of January 16, 2019?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Abstain.
abstentions? One abstention. Motion still passes. Public speak time. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to address the council? There is something on public hearing. So I'd like to address the council. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and feel free to. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nick Botrin, and I'm the owner of Pedalin' Party. It's a pedal tavern coming to the bike trail and downtown Easthampton. We were approved to go on the bike trail back in July, and then we started pushing in October, going after bring your own alcohol onto the bike. And so there's a rule in the Easthampton bylaws, section 6-12, that states no person shall consume any alcoholic beverage nor possess or transport any open can, bottle, or other container containing an alcoholic beverage on any city street or sidewalks owned and or maintained by the city of Easthampton. But at the bottom, it says, the city council, by a majority vote, may temporarily suspend the operation of this ordinance to permit the public sale, use, and or possession of alcoholic beverages and consumption thereof in any of the locations listed. So we're looking for a change or suspension in that rule for our business. And we have, here's some pictures if any of you could pass these on. Some big ones, and then I have another one over there. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to bring fun to the bike trail to Easthampton. I've been going on the bike trail since it opened. It's been awesome. And the bike here, I ran into it in Nashville, Tennessee. I went on it and had an amazing time. And it's going to be extremely safe with us. I'm an insurance agent, and I know all about liability and what can happen out there. So what we're doing with this, if we do get approved with the BYOB, we're going to have one sober driver and one sober host. What the host is going to do when you show up for this, you bring 60 ounces of alcohol, up to 60, or 750 milliliters of wine. You give that to the host, they store it up above, and then they distribute it out to you. They will be tip certified, as will the driver. No host or driver will have any alcohol at all. And so every employee that we're gonna have will be tip certified, so they can watch and observe all the riders. The bike consists of 10 pedalers and 5 riders. And so we're looking to do brewery tours. We're looking to do just yoga retreats where you pedal down to the park and do yoga. We're looking to do everything. We're trying to think of different themes, pending BYOB or not. And the reason why we're pursuing the BYOB is so we can bring more people to it. I talked to owners all over the country, and they said it gets by barely without the BYOB. It's when I say BYOB, we're not hoping people come and think they're just going to get wasted. That's not how it happens. It's just to sip on a drink as you're pedaling with your friends to downtown, and then we're going to be dropping people off downtown to use the restaurants, to use the shops, to go to the bars, to just have a good time. And we're just going to be bringing people, just feeding outside tourists into Easthampton. So that's what I just wanted to come bring to the table.
Okay, thank you. We do have a new business. Councilor Derby is submitting a request related to what you're talking about, so that will be moved to ordinance and then be discussed in ordinance. Additionally, anything more to add to that, Councilor Derby? Is that pretty much it? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the council on any topic? This is your time. Okay.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Belofsky of 53 Holyoke Street. I love the idea of a new business coming to town, and that does sound totally fun. But I would like to request that the council also considers all the talk that we've had regarding cannabis into our community. And, you know, what about the children and what are the children gonna see? And I think it should be given equal weight and consideration when we talk about people peddling with liquor down the bike path. I mean, child friendliness. I'm just wondering, you know, how things come together and how it relates. So I just ask that we kind of keep an equivalence in mind when we discuss cannabis in our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The good thing about these things being submitted, there'll be subcommittee meetings and further meetings for all, you know, opinions and discussions. So thank you for bringing up your point. Anyone else from the public who would like to address the council? Okay, not seeing anyone. Let me see. I think, okay, I'm going to fill in a little bit of a gap here. So the licensing board had sort of been a relatively quick with resignation, and they're a three-person board, licensing board. And they're a three-person board, and they have an important meeting coming up on the 19th. They were looking for an emergency appointment for that board. Stan McCoy, who happens to be my spouse, is interested in the position, and he applied for that opening on position. And so the concept would have an emergency appointment and then go through the regular process of the application. It's unusual in that the mayor had to recuse herself. I have to obviously recuse myself, so now the appointment is Councilor Derby's. So just, the licensing board has a meeting on the 19th, and so just that there will be a quorum for that. Councilor Derby is going to make a motion to have an emergency appointment of Stan McCoy to the licensing board for tonight, and then it will also be submitted to subcommittee appointments. But that was the communications I heard from the chair of the licensing board and her concern with the resignation and the quorum for the upcoming meeting. So with that being said, I will recuse myself from any voting, but certainly, Councilor Riss.
I just wanted to clarify, the mayor can, by our charter, make an emergency appointment. She's chosen to recuse herself. Falls on the president to take over that. He's recusing himself. So now it's bumped down to Salem. So the reason for this is because the mayor chose not to make an emergency appointment. This is why we're doing it.
This way, yes. Okay.
So I'd like to move to make an emergency appointment of Stanley McCoy to the Easthampton Licensing Board, and I think that would be valid until we go through the standard process.
Second.
Okay. Any additional comments, or I guess I could say that much. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention. Any opposed? Okay, so that emergency appointment goes into effect immediately, so that the board will have a quorum for at least the 19th. Okay, we have no more that I am aware of communications, except any counselors having announcements. I saw Councilor Peak first.
Thank you, Mr. President. As most of you remember, but I guess Councilor Lynch was not here, the council was nice enough to appoint me to be the council's representative to the telecom advisory committee, which actually Councilor Lynch was on for a bit, so I guess you all know about that. We had a really exciting meeting on Monday, and what came out of that meeting was a list of preliminary recommendations for things that the council or the mayor's office might be able to do to help facilitate that study as we continue our work. So at the next council meeting, the chair of that committee, Greg Howe, would like to come and give a quick presentation, and then I might actually have some related business to introduce.
To introduce.
Yes.
Are you going to have it to the city clerk before, so it'll be part of the agenda?
That would be the plan, is to introduce it to the agenda. I was mostly just saying that was exciting, and I think that the presentation is something that you guys will find really interesting.
No, I've heard interesting things about that board, so it's great. Okay. Councilor Zaret.
I just wanted to announce again, I'll probably repeat this announcement a few times in the next 3 months. Easthampton is going to be, as a not official to the city, but being able to participate in the Northampton Pride Parade this year. I believe, but I'm not sure. I don't think we've actually marched as the representatives of the city before. This is a citizens committee, but I'm hoping to see both elected officials as well as municipal employees marching as well. There's a citizens committee that's trying to organize participation and also raise funds. And also online right now, there is a contest open to anyone interested to design a logo for t-shirts that we're trying to print up for this as well. So I encourage anyone to both donate to this good cause to celebrate LGBTQ diversity, as well as submit any designs to this contest. And then, if it's okay, Mr. President, as a member, as another point of business, I received a letter from a constituent I want to read, if that's possible, unrelated to this.
Oh, sure.
So as many of you know, there is some movement to obtain a Stanton grant to try to build a dog park in Easthampton. There's been some discussion about that. I received some email from a constituent today I just would like to read really briefly. This is from Tara Jacob at 132 Park Street in Easthampton. Dear Easthampton City Council, I want to share with the council my support for an Easthampton dog park. I believe it will enhance the community's value and fill a need for resident dog owners to have a place for their pets to socialize safely off leash. I myself am an Easthampton resident dog owner. I would like to make frequent use of a dog park. For Easthampton dog owners with mobility limitations, a dog park is a necessary place for them to take their dogs to exercise. A dog park would bring people together and show that Easthampton meets the needs of its residents. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your public service. Oh, that was to me, but to all of us as well. Sincerely, Tara Jacob. So that's all.
Great. Well, thank you. Looking forward to how that pans out for you. Councilor Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to congratulate the students from Easthampton High. They, for the second year in a row, they won the We the People competition. In our city, we had the first and third place because Easthampton High was the first one. Williston or Hampton was the third place. I'm pretty sure the group from the Easthampton High, they're looking for people to donate money because now they're planning to go to Washington. So they have a GoFundMe page. If you can go to that page and donate, so that way we make our students go to Washington or represent our beautiful city there. I think they're going to be so happy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot. Great. Council, is there for people who are interested in that committee, is it Facebook? What's the best way for them to contact?
Yeah, yes, there is a in regard for the Pride Committee. There's a Facebook page, which fortunately to the miracle of the internet, I can actually tell you what it is if you'll bear with me really quickly. I think it's just I believe it's just Easthampton Pride. It's Easthampton Pride, and there's an email address, but I'm blanking on what that is. But if people go there, they can submit questions and ask to join and participate. There will be a fundraiser also at New City Brewery at the end of March, and I'll provide more information as we go along with that.
Great, thank you. Councilor Kuzinski.
I'm happy to report, after all the discussion about saving some money and becoming green on our vehicles, that it looks like an article in the Detroit Free Press reports that there will be a police interceptor utility vehicle that'll have a top speed of 137 miles per hour, go from 0 to 100 very quickly. It is a hybrid vehicle. It looks like that's coming out in 2020, so we could keep our eyes on that vehicle, and it's good to see that they're moving forward with this.
Thanks for keeping us informed. Councilor Peak.
I'm so sorry. There was another thing that I meant to say. So I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago since our last meeting, to attend the Massachusetts Municipal Association's meeting and trade group. And first of all, you guys had said to bring back a bunch of swag, so I have so many pens and cell phone chargers and stuff, and I just forgot them at home, so I'm sorry about that. But also, there were a bunch of really, really interesting programs and statistics and things like that I learned about. I learned a lot about accessory dwelling zoning. I learned a bit about a Massachusetts program that within the state government that actually reimburses for part of the difference between a conventional and a hybrid or electric vehicle, is to save some money there. I have all of this stuff at home. I didn't bring it in, but I thought that was what jogged my memory about that, so that was an interesting thing. I learned that in terms of elder economic stability, Massachusetts ranks 49th out of 50 states. We only beat Mississippi, which is a pretty sobering statistic. And I learned a few other things that it left me with a really good idea of things that we might be able to do, ideas on some problems. So it's nice to talk to the other 350 municipalities about like what they've been doing to solve a lot of the problems that we all have in common. And I have some things I'll be circulating to
great.
individual members.
Well, thank you for doing it and bringing back that information. That's terrific.
And the pens.
Yes.
And the pens. Yeah.
So we won't ever run out of
Yeah,
pens.
exactly. Anybody else? Okay, thank you for all the information. On to Mayor Communications. Mayor.
Good evening. I have just a few things tonight. One, I'd like to remind everyone that tomorrow I will be delivering my State of the City at 6 p.m. in these chambers, and would love to see you all there if your schedule allows you to be there. And afterwards, maybe the most exciting part for everyone involved will be a reception downstairs in the conference room in my office with cake. Very excited about that. It's kind of like my carrot. And certainly would like to thank Councilor Coniff for reminding me of making that promise so long ago for State of the City. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
To have cake.
Yes. Yes. Also, a while ago, I had announced a project that the Conway School of Landscaping had agreed to do with us around exploring safe bike trails and connections to the new school, but also throughout the city and neighborhoods right now that don't have access or it's difficult to get to a bike path. And this project, we pursued this out of the planning department right after that school vote when we started, but also the project will really look at trail connections, affordability and accessibility for bikes and alternative modes of transportation that are more cost effective and economically viable for all of our residents in the city. That said, on Tuesday, February 12th at 4 p.m., there will be a public meeting to gather public input about what they'd like to see out of trail expansion, also what would make it more viable, what the impediments are. Again, Tuesday, February 12th, 4 p.m. to 5:30. That'll be up at the high school. There is childcare provided. And I will just offer the flyer, if we could enter that into the record, and it's posted all over the city and whatnot. There will be more opportunities for public comment on this particular project. I would just remind and connect that we soon will be having other public meetings around the Downtown Strategic Planning Grant, which looks certainly at the bike path, but pedestrian and cycle safety on Union, really starting at Maple Street School, then Union, Cottage to Union, and then Center Pepin. And there'll be additional comment period for that as well. But these two projects are very much connected. So if I'll pass that on to that. I would also like to do a special presentation to one of our long-standing city employees who has retired recently, and Mr. Charles Curtin, if you could come up. Mr. Curtin was a sealer of weights and measures. He was first employed in 1963 and retired just last month. While we do proclamations, given the long-standing service, Mr. Curtin, we'd like to present you with your own weight and measurement tool. And it has your name and just a plaque for recognition of your longtime service.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
you leave, Mr. Curtin, I know we made mention of your extraordinary service a couple of meetings ago, and you certainly got a letter from us, but not to be outdone by the mayor, although we can't match that. But we do again have a certificate of thanks for your outstanding service for 56 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, I enjoyed doing this job, but there comes a time when you can't lift. And if you can't lift, you can't do the job. It was a long time ago. I remember Mr. Kushan had passed away. They called for a civil service exam, and about 10 of us took. I had the top mark, so eventually I got it. And I didn't take the job to get rich. I knew I wasn't going to make any money, but for the health insurance for my children and my family. And I've done it, and I enjoyed it. In fact, I'd still be here if I could lift, but I can't. If it wasn't for my son helping me, you know, people don't realize the lifting you have to do in the factories, but most of the factories are gone now, when I think of it. When I took the job, there was Stanley Home, Hammond especially, Les knows him. There's a lot of them, 5 or 6 of them, they're all gone now, but there's still a few. And when you do the gas pumps, you got a can that weighs 40 pounds, you put 5 gallons of gas in it, you got to carry it out back and dump it in a funnel. And it don't look like much, but I mean, this year, with the gas pumps you see in town, I had to fill that can 94 times and bring it out back. And, but I enjoyed it, let me say, and I want to thank all of you, everybody. It was, I guess it's, people used to ask me, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? A lot of them wanted to be the oldest one here, I guess. Be the longest, but it's been 50-some odd years, and thank you so much, okay?
Thank you.
And I'd like to say a few words, being his wife. When he said he really enjoyed it, he really enjoyed it. If we got a telephone call at 10 o'clock this morning, he would say to the proprietor, okay, what time will you be there? 1 o'clock? Okay, I'll meet you at 5:01. So he truly enjoyed it, and he always was on time to perform the duties he needed to do because he felt this was a business. This was a business for the family, for the city, and he has to put his best foot forward. And he got a few calls after he retired, and they said, now where do we go to get our... So we suggested that they call the mayor's office.
We're the last
You're a strong
town to
lady.
do the fuel trucks. I used to doing the fuel trucks myself. Now they'll have to go to Westfield. Northampton's not going to do trucks, so we're the last ones to do them. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have standing committees, Finance, Council Rist.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will meet again in these chambers on the 13th, that's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. to continue our discussions of MGL Chapter 32B, Sections 21 and 22. We've had 2 extensive 2-hour meetings. I really advise the counselors to watch the videos. There's a lot of information. I went in with a different opinion than I do now on the whole process. So I encourage you to watch that to make an informed vote. I would like to, we will be trying to make a recommendation on the 13th, the Finance Committee, that is. And on the, I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing for the 20th in these chambers at 6:15 for that, the adoption of MGL Chapter 32B, Sections 21 and 22. That's the form of a motion.
Second?
Okay, motion is second to set the public hearing for MGL Chapter 32B, Section 21, 22 for February 20th, these chambers. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion
Abstain.
passes. 1 abstention? All right.
Oh, abstain.
2 abstentions.
Also, at that meeting, we will be discussing 2 other items. I'll make first readings, 3 other items, if we get to them that evening. First readings for, we have an interdepartmental transfer under new business. Request is hereby made for the approval of the following appropriation. $50,000 to be transferred from the reserve fund, $50,000, to be transferred to legal services, $50,000. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: to supplement the city attorney professional service budget shortfalls in fiscal year 19. I move that this be sent to Finance Committee for review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move to Finance to Subcommittee for review, this supplemental interdepartmental transfer of $50,000. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
We also have an interdepartmental transfer for the following appropriation. The amount requested is $800 to be transferred from the reserve fund, $800 to be transferred to the city council, $800. This is a first. To supplement the city council budget for legal advertisements. And it's signed by President McCoy. I move that this be sent to the Finance Committee for review.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to move the request in departmental transfer for $800 to Finance. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Finally, we have the fiscal year city council budget request. I move that that particular item be sent to the Finance Committee for review.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to send to Finance the city council budget request. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
That concludes.
That
I'm
concludes,
sorry.
that's all right. Public safety, Councilor Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a meeting last night. Our next meeting is gonna be March 5th to continue the conversation of the review on street parking restrictions and the pedestrian safety review. That's about the crosswalks. We're gonna keep having the conversation in our subcommittee meeting. We are having, every time we met, we have a great conversation with a few of our residents, and including Chief Alberti and Joe from DPW. And we're gonna keep continuing the conversation in the meeting March 5th. I just wanna make a motion to have a public hearing for the installation, the request of the installation for a pole on Ferry Street to serve 1 Ferry Street on February 20th at 6:15 in this chamber.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second to set a public hearing for the ferry pole location on 1 Ferry Street on February 20th, 6:15 PM, LA Chambers. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
That's concluded.
I see we have, I believe this goes to Public Safety, Council Gomez. It's the request for the Fox Run as a public way. Do you want to make a motion to move that to public safety?
Can I have a motion to move to the subcommittee the Fox Run Street acceptance?
Second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to move to public safety the request to approve Fox Run Street acceptance. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
That's concluded.
That
Thank you, Mr.
concludes the
President.
budget. Thank you. Appointments, Councilor Coniff.
Okay, so we had our meeting this evening, and we had one nomination to review. That would be Stan Diamond, nomination to the Telecom Advisory Board. We, as a collective committee, voted 3-0 to approve him and move that nomination to City Council with a term expiration 12/31/2021. All of us, well, 2 of us, represented that we know Mr. Diamond very well, and he is passionately involved in city and specifically the telecom aspect, and I know he will do an awesome job on that committee. So I am going to make a motion to approve Stan Diamond to the Telecom Advisory Board 12/31 with an expiration 12/31/2021.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve Stan Diamond to the Telecom Advisory Committee. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
We also discussed tonight, we have on our agenda just essentially relooking at the appointment process. And 2 things that came out of that were to redo the nomination form and also to talk about how we can gain a tighter communication to the chairs of the committees that exist so that if we need to get feedback, there's a vehicle that's a little easier today, and I understand that there will be some documentation of more of the information around the chairs and the members of each committee, so that we will have that if we need to reach out to them. So that's ongoing, as is the review of the appointment forms. We'll probably, on our next meeting, be able to sign off on that appointment form, and they will go into production at that point. So that is what we discussed this evening. The new business that we have, that we need to move some nominations to the appointment subcommittee. I'm going to start with the individual committees first. We have Haley Wood for the Affordable and Fair Housing with a term expiration 12/31/2021. That's a motion to move that to the appointment subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second to move Haley Wood for Affordable and Fair Housing to appointment subcommittee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Motion to move Peter Nelson of the ECA Cultural Council, term expiration 12/31/2021, to the appointment subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second to move Peter Nelson's name, applying for the ECA Cultural Commission to appointment subcommittee. Additional questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And motion to move Deanna Wirtz, I'm gonna kill this name, Deanna Wirtz Medavere, I apologize, Deanna, of the Conservation Commission with a term expiration 12/31/2021, to the appointment subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second to move Deanna Wirtz Medavere to the Conservation Commission. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Also, on, oh, that's different now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
You down here.
Okay. Counselor Zaret is pointing out that I need an extension on the, which one is that?
The review of the
request for the
council.
council's, of the mayoral appointment process. We'll ask for a 90-day extension on that.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second for a 90-day extension on the mayor's appointment, council confirmation of mayoral appointments. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And lastly, we have now the full cadre of Community Relations Committee nominations. So I will read them as a group. They're all nominations for the Community Relations Committee with a 12/31/2021 term expiration. I will make a motion to move all of these names to the appointment subcommittee at the conclusion of reading them. Armand Lapointe, John Norman, James Valancourt, Abby Goldberg, Margaret Kirstein, Mary Lou Splain, Alyssa O'Leary, Jane Hamill, Emily Britton, Rebecca Passa, and Patricia Doherty. That's a motion to move them to the
Second.
subcommittee.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to move the previous read names as part of the CRC to the appointment subcommittee. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
One abstention, so no. Motion still passes.
And thus concludes, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance, Councilor Derby.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the ordinance subcommittee did meet on the 30th, in which time we discussed the items that were on our agenda, making some good progress. A little bit of housekeeping. I'd like to ask for a 90-day extension on the proposed ordinance for changes to open consumption of alcohol and cannabis in the form of a motion.
Second.
A motion, a second for 90-day extension for the ordinance relating to open consumption of alcohol and cannabis. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
And we do have two pieces of new business. Would you like me to move those now?
Yep.
And so these are pieces that I have moved. The first is the request to review a mobile multi-passenger bike possibly serving alcohol. My rationale behind this was, as you know, we had a presentation tonight during Public Speak. I think that this falls well within the purview of ordinance to look at, to possibly look at regulations or requirements around something of this nature, as this could be sensitive, as it was brought up in Public Speak. And I think ordinance is probably the best place to get that conversation started. So I'd like to, in the form of a motion, move that to the ordinance subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments? Councilor Rist?
For the first time in my 22 years on the council, I absolutely opposed to the notion of a bike tavern that I am not going to vote in favor of even having this considered. I am going to vote no. I just want the committee to know you have an uphill climb if you're going to convince me that this is a good idea. So I'm voting no to send it to committee. I just want you to know that.
So we have motion and a second. Any other more comments before vote? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain? Motion still passes.
The next piece of new business that I'd like to move is a review of the regulations around parking in residential areas in front of people's houses on public streets. I've fielded multiple complaints from constituents in my district around people parking permanently in the public way. And I think it's important for us to take a look at this particular issue, as well as the issue of people using their front yards beyond their driveways. A certain percentage of it, maybe 80% of it, for parking of vehicles. And I think that's something that regulations do exist around it. I think it makes sense for ordinance to look at those regulations, to compile them, and to make it really clear, what we expect in residential areas around parking.
Okay.
So I'd like to, in the form of a motion, move that to the ordinance subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to move to ordinance subcommittee. Discussion related to off-street private residence parking limitations. Additional questions or comments?
I just had a quick question. It probably can very well be discussed in ordinance, but there should be no permanent on-street parking because we have a ban from November 1 through the 1st of April at the very least.
I would agree with that
So
notion.
at nighttime, so nobody should be parking permanently or think that they can park permanently on our city streets. Just wanted to make sure the public understood that.
And I would say that I think that that's right. I don't think it's understood because it is happening in many, many neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So just to be clear.
Okay.
The chief is smiling.
We have motion and second. Any more comments or, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And we did set a next meeting, which is February 13th at 5 p.m. In whatever room is available.
You can have one because we're
We
up
said
here.
5.
Sitting. Yeah, 6 is us up here.
I think maybe that's why we said 5.
Okay. That concludes, I assume? Yep.
That concludes.
Property, Counselor Kwasinski.
The property committee had a good discussion on the proposal for a study for a dog park, to make an application for the dog park to the Stanton grant. There were several folks in attendance. Essentially, I think the upshot of that meeting was anyone in any neighborhood wants to have separation from the dog parks, and that became very clear to us. And be assured that we had some noise control, and there was some discussion about the streets and having the streets be safe in terms of accessing and exiting the park. That discussion was ongoing. The application process through the CPA will continue in terms of that is the first step in the process to apply for monies to do the study. So we have not scheduled another meeting yet, but that's still on the table.
Okay.
That concludes.
That concludes, terrific. Rules and Government Relations, Counselor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have not met since our last fall meeting. The initial plan was to meet next Wednesday on the 13th in deference to the important work that Finance is doing. I would like to move that meeting to the 27th, Wednesday the 27th. And at that meeting, we will be discussing the MGL Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C and a half consideration. That, for those just tuning in, is the is senior tax abatements. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting discussion, and ideally, we've had this on the agenda for a long time. So what I'm hoping we can do is have a thorough and robust conversation and have enough information to report that out and take a vote on that sometime in March. In addition to that, we will continue to discuss the proposed new Rule 17B, which Councilor Rist had proposed. That was just a matter of, we had a pretty good discussion, but there were a few points that I wanted Councilor Rist to have a chance to weigh in, and he wasn't able to make that meeting. So that'll be on the 27th at 6 p.m. I haven't found a room yet, or I haven't determined a room yet, but we'll figure that out soon. And that concludes.
Thank you. Charter Review, Councilor Rist.
Yes, we'll be meeting next week on the 14th, and we will be discussing elections. Very, very important. That's Article 7. We're skipping Article 6 for the time being, waiting and with great anticipation for the Collins report from the mayor, which looks at positions, and Article 6 deals with that. So we're looking at Article 7. I remind Councilor Peak he was going to give us a couple of ideas on ranked choice voting.
It'll be there.
So if you're interested in that, we're going to be discussing it. Thank you.
Councilor, did you save the time?
6 o'clock, room 1
Thank you.
on the 14th. Oh, it's Valentine's Day, but everybody wanted to meet, so it's not my fault.
Okay, I think we've gone through all the new business and no old business. Unless anyone has anything more to say, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
See you February 20th.